Hello and welcome to Brickwork Ratings, yet another podcast series. Today we have a very special guest with us, Mr. Dev Shankar Tripathi. He's none other than CEO and MD of Aadhar Housing Finance. We'll get to hear a lot of insights on the housing finance segment. Sir, a very warm welcome to you.
Thank you, Ria. Thank you.
Sir, we'll start the session with understanding how is the overall housing finance segment doing?
Yeah, after this, when the lockdown was imposed in month of April last year, 20, after the March, and the May slight unlocking started, and thereafter it kept on moving in. Many areas were open. So I have seen that across the affordable housing, there was a complete reversal of the lockdown situation, and the growth started. Initially, from June, July, August, the growth was around 25% lower than what it was the previous year. But as we reached October, November, the affordable housing growth became normal. And if I speak for the February and March 21, I believe that across the sector, across the company, it will be much better than what we have seen last year. So my feeling was that January, February, March was pretty good for the affordable housing segment, and also it was good for the premium segment and middle income segment also. But in low income affordable housing, there have been a lot of activities were there. Most of the companies were able to disburse the loan what they did previous year in the same month.
Sir, so can we say that how have been the delinquencies, or have they reached the pre-COVID levels?
No, that is not possible. You see, the pre-COVID level delinquencies were almost very controlled. And when the COVID was impacted, moratorium was given. And if you can understand that large number of people, those who were in say lead segment also, they have salary cut, they lost the job. And much beyond that, the self-employed and informal segment, they had a huge impact. One plus point is that the informal segment and self-employed segment, they have quite resilience to come back the moment unlocking started. But whatever impact they suffered for about 5-6 months till August, September, that scar remained there on their business. And when RBI allowed the one-time restructuring, some customers who were in 30 days DPD or below till March, they have been taken care of. But there was other segments who definitely got impacted after even the March also. Who got impacted during the March, who were not in 30-day DPD, they were not eligible for OTR. So we all expected that the NPA will definitely start rising from September 2020 because of the Supreme Court decision not to declare account NPA or roll forward from August onward. Till 26 March, when Supreme Court announced decision, we were only declaring pro forma NPA. The NPA, actually, the major NPA increase was seen in December 2020, and some follow-on increase was in January, February also, and that was precisely the impact of the COVID. If you see that OTR which was given to those accounts which were in 30 days DPD, it means those accounts were very good. These accounts were not having any default. And I tell you about our own assessment, 90% of such accounts who requested for OTR, they have been zero DPD for previous 12 months. But they were having zero DPD for previous 12 months, that is period from February 19 to February 20, they have been zero DPD or hardly one DPD in between. So it means these customers who requested OTR, they were genuinely impacted by the COVID. My feeling is that NPA, which was started rising from September onward and was not declared. So March, after Supreme Court decision has come, all companies will have to now convert pro forma NPA to actual NPA. But there will be definitely a spike in NPA over March 20. If we expect that March 20 and March 21 NPA, even after OTR will remain same, no. After giving him an OTR also, the March 21 NPA will definitely be slightly more than the March 20 NPA because OTR was not allowed to accounts which were in 31 to 60 and 61 to 90. And they also were impacted. They were already having some delinquency in March 20. Moratorium benefit they got, but after August, they came as a normal customer. So whatever NPA increase will happen, will happen out of these customers who is there in 31 to less than 90 in month of March. Those who were in 30 days and DPD below, for them the companies were either considered their OTR or those customers started paying the installment. But my belief is that NPA will definitely go up by around 0.5, 0.7% over March 20 position. It might be more depending on the customer profile the companies are having. Those companies which are having large number of salaried customers, their impact will not be that much. Their impact may be 0.4, 0.50. But those companies which are having large portion of self-employed informal segment or cash salary, their impact may even go to 0.75 and 1% also. But as you move after March 2021, say this present lockdown should not continue more. If this doesn't continue and the economic activity remains normal, by September or December 2021, we will start seeing that pre-COVID situation.
Great. Sir, before going to more challenges, since you already mentioned this upcoming lockdown, which is already being imposed for the month of April, we see as a big challenge for this segment. Any other challenges would like to highlight, the sector is facing, which, can be taken care, or some measures to be taken for those?
Actually, in low-income segment, the government of India, right from the very beginning, has been very supportive. If you look at the government, our decisions, not only after lockdown, but prior to lockdown also, you see, the government support has been quite immense. I do not think that any other support is required. As regard the interest exemption on income tax is there, that is already given. GST was already reduced. So, many measures have been taken to enable the housing finance company to have enough liquidity. The Reserve Bank of India also took the measure. Even today, also they announced continuance of TLRDO in September 2021. 50,000 crore rupees a year mark by NHB, SIDBI, and NABARD. So, housing finance company, like last year, they got 10,000 crore rupees and NHB got for housing finance company. I don't know what proportion will be there, but they will get. So the liquidity concern is at all not there, barring few small housing finance company, which could not get the bank line even last 10 months or 12 months time. So, though Reserve Bank of India support was there, but still because of their own problems, whether their leverage was high or whatever, very few companies, they could not get bank line. Majority of the companies, they had not faced any liquidity challenge. That is taken care of. Delinquency, I just discussed with you, delinquency has to rise, and we have to live with that. If the situation is abnormal, then 1% or 1.5 or 1.75% NPA, we should not worry. Only thing what happened that when the lockdown was when the Supreme Court gave decision in August that you can't declare NPA, so companies are providing on the pro forma NPA, but they were not able to take the action for the recovery. Except persuasive action, the surface other actions were completely stopped because the account was not declared NPA. But that is the reason the recovery reduction of NPA that may be slightly delayed because now from April onward, companies will start taking action. Regarding disbursement, regarding the supply side, I have not come across any such challenge.
So since you spoke about the whole growth scenario post-pandemic, also how levels were pre-COVID era, we would also like to understand, sir, what are the geographical areas which are doing well and some exceptionally, somewhere still facing huge issues?
Across the country, you see there are 15 states which has got roughly about 93% of the low-income affordable housing. They have got a huge requirement. And if among all the states you go, there may be some pocket not doing well. But if you take the full state, it is not the case. Because my company is spread over across the country. We are having a fairly good presence in almost more than about 12 states. We have a huge presence. And remaining states also, we have good number of branches. So we are deeply penetrated across the country. Like you take the Surat location. Surat location in Gujarat is creating a problem. Same way, the West Bengal also, there is always a problem. Odisha also have some problem. These areas which have been, Surat has never been a high NPA area in past, but unfortunately, last 2-3 years, this has become a high NPA area. Otherwise, Gujarat per se was not having any issue of the delinquency. West Bengal, Odisha, these states are better. Kerala has got delinquency. Kerala has got good demand also. But same time, Kerala, you take the Kottayam, you take the Cochin, they are having centers where the Calicut, their delinquency is slightly high. UP, if you go to Bareilly and Kanpur, some pockets in each state you may get which are sadly more delinquent than other pockets. But per se, you cannot press the one state fully that that state is not behaving good. The only problem, like a state like Tamil Nadu, if you go there, though, getting permission from collector for SARFAESI action is a challenge. So there recovery gets impacted. It is only confined to the persuasive measure. There are some progressive states where if you proceed against the customer for SARFAESI, the administration support is quite good. From March 20 to till now, I agree that each state support was not there because of pandemic. Companies also did not want that customers should be unnecessarily exposed to the SARFAESI action. We also never wanted. So the administration also wanted to support them. RBI also supported. But in normal situation, when economy is normal, then if somebody is delinquent, the action has to be taken. So if you take whether it is UP, whether it is MP, whether it is North, whether it is Gujarat, whether it is Maharashtra. If you go to Maharashtra, also location like Ahmednagar, location like Nanded, they have a high delinquent position. Even in Bombay, which was not having high delinquency earlier, in affordable housing, some delinquency is seen. But excepting few locations, high level of NPAs are not seen. East requires some improvement. That East, when I say West Bengal, Odisha, some part of Chhattisgarh, some part of Bihar and Jharkhand. Otherwise, by and large. And so I think most of the companies are not very much exposed there.
So since you spoke about huge stress in the developers' portfolio because of the states not doing well, sir, what is your strategy as a company to bring in some improvement into this issue?
Yeah, developer loan we don't. We as a company, our policy is that we had some historical portfolio of developer loan, roughly about 71 crore rupees, which is very historical. And thereafter, we have, last about 3.5 years, we have not done even single percent. And 71 crore portfolio is across about 20 accounts. This is a very small portfolio. The developer portfolio, we have not been very keen. Therefore, for me, it is not a challenge at all and will not be a challenge because we are not going to expose ourselves. What I personally feel that mostly the affordable housing finance company, they are not trying to expose themselves. This is the sole focus area of the big brothers company or mid-sized company. We don't move into this. So for me, it is not a
all right. Sir, we recently heard that, last year before this whole COVID and everything came in, and also during that time, co-origination model was the thing these housing companies were getting into. So what is your take on that? Has it gained any momentum or are there challenges that this model has been facing?
Yeah, co-origination model is the model for which time has come. Because if companies has to get rid of the liquidity problem and they have to be an asset light, they have to use their ability of being close to the customer, their sourcing ability, their sanction ability, their assessment ability. Most of the affordable housing finance company in farmer segment, they have developed a lot of good models and they have achieved good expertise in that. And the banks have the funds. So I think co-origination model is a good model, but still, if you ask me, it has taken off. No. It is still at a very nascent stage because some technological alignment are required to be done. That is one. Some other issues are there because most of the banks, they have their own policy. They say that if a customer has a score of less than 700, something like, they will not accept that customer. So there are a lot very other operational challenges are there because if the banks has to tie up for the co-origination with the affordable housing finance company, and if the bank expect that it has to be 750 score and above, then probably that is not our forte. But in that segment, what we can do, we will start sourcing our 25, 35 lakh rupees accounts, which will suit the bank's requirement very comfortably. And there we can do co-origination. So co-origination as affordable housing finance company, we will see that if the banks are not taking certain accounts where the score is not good, where the property is in a Gram Panchayat, we will not go into, we will not coordinate with the bank, that we will take in our books. But for them, whatever the score or whatever the profile they give, for them we will do. But it will take some time to fully take off. RBI in last policy also, they gave some relaxation. And probably the banks are also looking into that in a big way. But if you ask me, it will be a full-fledged model operative in 1 year time. I have my own doubt. It will take its own time, 2-3 years to get established. Particularly those companies who are having a huge network and not having the liquidity, they will immediately jump into that. You must have seen 1 or 2 companies, big companies, they are actually engaged in the co-origination model. I will not name them. You must have seen from the paper news and all that. They are heavily in co-origination model, but majority are still waiting. In SME segment, this will take off very quickly. In SME segment, because there are small companies, for them liquidity will always be an issue, and they will love into both. So one situation, what comes that, suppose I do an example. If my operational expenses are huge in this, in the low income segment, if I am sourcing 25, 35 lakh rupees loan and co-originate, I will be in a situation with the banks. They will not be in a problem. They will give liquidity. I will keep 20%, 80% they will have. And that will not, because my operational cost will not be high, because this segment of customers, they have full financial document. But if you think of a co-origination model of 4, 5, 7, 8 lakh rupees, where operational cost is very high. If the bank says that bank gives the interest rate 8% or 9% or 10%, and 80% I give to them, the blended rate will be, even in whatever rate I would like to place for my 20% share, the blended rate will not be enough. So my earning will be on 20%. Suppose I charge 14%. My cost of fund is 8%. I'll get 6% and 20%. But the remaining 8%, I will not get anything. And if the banks are compensating us for collection with 50 basis points or 70 basis points, then I can get something in doing collection. But if banks are saying that I will give you 10%, 25 basis points, then probably economics of the companies will not work out. So something has to come up on that, because considering the heavy operational cost, heavy collection cost, some pricing compensation is required to the NBFC HFCs to go full hog in the co-origination model. But model is very good. It's very thoughtful model. It will take off.
So basically, some intersection is to be brought in. So
it's always there. Any policy which comes at its own time to get fully operational. I'm sure that process has started. It will become operational soon. And Reserve Bank of India and banks, they are all keen, and even NBFC, HFCs are keen. So when every stakeholder is keen, then why it will not take off?
So this brings me to a question. Since we have faced one full year full of lockdown, COVID, and so many issues, so this brings me to this very important question: what are the lessons that the housing finance segment specifically has learned from pandemic, or what are the things that this segment will take note of and make sure that the business is not impacted even if there is lockdown? I will not say that the full business can totally be covered up, but yes, somewhere we can try and safeguard ourselves.
Yeah, housing loan and housing construction, it involves a lot of physical activity. That's we just understand.
Yeah.
Suppose I talk about the premium and mid-income segment, where the customer has all financial paper and they are not required to visit to the office. They send everything through the online, through the email. Sanction is also given to them. Verification is also done. Then ultimately property valuation is to be done. Because that is one of the key requirements. You cannot give a loan for the housing without property valuation. Customer will have to go to see the property which he is going to buy. He cannot see the property and the map which builders are providing and they can choose. So probably I think wherever the physical intervention is required, you cannot completely say that lockdown, you can insulate your company or your purchase from the lockdown. Is impossible. Only the, and when you are talking about low income affordable housing, 90% customers of ours, they might have the mobile phone, but they are not technology savvy. For them, collection of paper is important. Only we can digitize we have digitized our all processes. Like in my employee or sales manager collect the papers, income paper, other paper from customer, he can upload without coming to the office. So we can reduce the physical visit of my person to my office, but we cannot avoid the physical visit of my sales manager or credit manager at the customer's place. Well, only thing what can be seen collection wise, I have seen one good development because there are various payment models are available. Razor Pay or so many models are available. Customer can pay out of that if he is not putting money in the account through a NACH collection. So I think electronic collection can be encouraged, and that is what we also experience. Our 93% collection happens through the banking model, excepting for the default which occurs. And remaining collection, what we do, we have been doing physically wherever PDCs were not there, our customers were not on. So during lockdown period, we encourage customers to move to the electronic mode of remittance through the Paytm, through the Google Pay, through the Razor Pay, and I have seen that is having a good development. So this education to the customer, even if the customer is not able to come to the branch or deposit money, he can remit money by sitting in his home, which is very seamless and very simple. Disbursement will only take place without physical visit. Disbursement cannot take place. I do not foresee that model immediately till the digitization of all land records happen. But even digitization of all land records happen, somebody has to go do valuation. You cannot rule out the 1 or 2% fraudulent activity in that. The property, where property word is involved, physical intervention has to be there. Only process of that thing you can digitize.
Yeah. So before let you go, one last question. So what is the roadmap for the affordable housing segment and the overall housing segment for 2022, financial year 2022? Since given all the issues and since we already spoke about the challenges or the strategies which we can take up. So what is the roadmap according to you?
Yeah, I am always pragmatically optimistic. Presume that there is severe lockdown will not be there. The activities will continue. I can't say 100% normal, near normal they will continue. Considering that we divide in two parts. Low income housing, when we say it is sub 15 lakh rupees, where the most of the so-called affordable housing finance companies are. If you look at all the affordable housing finance companies, their 75 to 85% business is below 15 lakh. And above that, they do have 20 lakh, 25 lakh. But this segment, on an average, according to me, will grow by about 20-22% in 2021. Some companies which are very small are having low base, they might grow in 40-50% also. But overall growth in this segment, I believe that HFCs will be around 25-30, which are 100% engaged in the low-income affordable housing. Some are in the mixed segment. So I talk these HFCs, their growth some will have 40-50, some will have less than that, but average will be around 20-22%. As regards the low income, middle income, because big companies also do low income housing. It is not that they don't do. They are not doing more in that, but they are doing on the upper segment of low income, like if LIG is having 3 to 6 lakh rupees income, they capture customer of 5-6 lakh rupees income and their middle income. Their major focus is low to middle income group. They will also grow by about 16-17%. Because their base is high, they will also grow at 67%. So I look forward, if nothing abnormal comes like last year in pandemic, the growth in housing is going to be good. And this is the priority for everyone, not only as a housing finance company, we are doing business. But from the government perspective, it's a job creating sector where a lot of multiplier effects are there. The government will continue to give push to this. Regulator will continue to push this. I believe that housing segment will be gradually coming back. I can't say to 17, 18 position will come. 17, 18 was a very hyper year. So that position will take some time to come. But this 21, 22 looks better for the housing sector.
Definitely. Sir, it was great having you. Thank you so much for all the insights that you shared. We hope to see a normal scenario back and meet in person since we are based in Mumbai. Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you. You are most welcome. Thank you. Thank you so much.